The following is a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. Hollywood Redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is Black Hollywood Live, Phenomenal Women, featuring in-depth interviews with today's most inspiring women. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood Redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host of Black Hollywood Live, Phenomenal Women.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another show of Phenomenal Women. And I have an amazing artist with me today. I have Deniece Williams. I am so excited that you are here. I am a fan. I love your work. I grew up with your music, and I can't wait to get into how you got started, what you've done. And right now we are playing Jay-Z Empire State of Mind because you are an example of that there's nothing that you can't accomplish.
That's true.
And you are a prime example of that. I'm your host, Ashida Onrae, and let's get started with Phenomenal Women. Welcome.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
You look so pretty.
Thank you, and so do you.
Thank you. So back when you started, you wanted to be a registered nurse.
Yes,
But
I did.
as fate would have it, your math teacher heard you sing.
He did. I think I must have been in around 11th grade or my senior year. And the reason I wanted to be a nurse is because my grandmother was a nurse. My mom was a nurse. I was a candy striper. So it seemed like my natural progression in life was I was going to follow in those footsteps. And one day I was working in my math teacher's record store. And because I had gone to him and I said, listen, I need some extra money. I'd like to make some money. I understand you have the store. Can I work? And so he gave me a job after school. And I would sit there and put on the little 45s and I'd sing along with everybody. And one day I didn't know that he was in the back of the store in the storage room. And he heard me sing, and he comes out and he says, I didn't know you could sing. And I said, that's because you don't go to church on Sunday. Right. I sing in the church choir. And so he said, I really love your voice. And he said, I'd like to talk to some people about you. I said, well, you got to talk to my mother. So he talked to my mom. She said it was cool. He brought some folks over from Chicago, which was a big music mecca for us at the time. And they heard me, and I did my first recording when I was 17.
So essentially, your teacher became your manager.
Yes, he did. Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Now, your first big break in meeting Stevie Wonder, how did that happen?
Stevie, that's a funny story. Well, at least I think it's a funny story. My cousin John, his grandmother and my grandmother were sisters. So every summer, he would spend 1 week in Gary, Indiana, where I lived. He was from Detroit, Michigan. And when John would come, he said for about 3 summers, I know Stevie Wonder. And I said, shut up. Everybody that lives in Detroit said they know little Stevie Wonder. You don't know Stevie Wonder. And so he would say that every year. I went off to college, and I wasn't a great student because I majored in, well, I don't want to even say what I majored in, but it wasn't school. Right. And so I was taking a semester out, and he said, what are you doing? I said, I got to find a job. He said, what about an audition with Stevie Wonder? He's looking for 3 backup singers. And I said, I told you that joke is old, okay? Right. The joke is old. But as it turned out, he did get me the audition. I was flown into Detroit. I tried out. I auditioned with 26 other singers. And I was one of 3 that got the job to go on tour with Stevie.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it like? Were you nervous? What were you thinking? Like, wow, I'm auditioning for Stevie Wonder.
I was so afraid. It was short of me wetting my pants. That's what it was. Because I'd grown up listening to him, and I was such a fan. And so to be there with him, and I got there and I felt bad. I felt very insecure because most of the singers had brought keyboard players, for their audition. Or they had songs. I just showed up.
Right.
Okay. Here I am. And so when he called on me, I was almost in tears, and I said, I didn't bring anything to sing. So he started to play the song, Teach Me Tonight. And he, did I say I had a lot to learn? He taught me the lyrics. And by the end of the songs, all of the singers were singing. We were singing like 3-4 part harmony. And then I waited about a day to hear, what would happen. And my cousin called me and said, "You're in."
You're in.
I was in.
So what happened? You went on tour. You're traveling. Take us through this amazing time in your life, just with Stevie.
Well, it's funny because the first city that I went with him, they said we were on our way to Philadelphia. We'd be flying into Philly. And I'd never been anywhere outside of Gary, Indiana. Well, I made a couple of trips with my grandparents, but so I'm on my way to Philly. This is big time. We didn't end up going to Philly. We ended up going to this little city called King of Prussia. And I could see from my hotel room the Philadelphia sign.
Right.
But we started at this small club. But 3 months later, he was the opening act for the Rolling Stones. So I went from starting with him in this little club and, thinking I was on my way to Philly, to a 3-month tour with Stevie Wonder as the opening act for the Rolling Stones. And that was that blew my mind for real.
What did you learn from Stevie? What did he inspire? What did he teach you while you was with him? Because he's such a great artist. When I look at him, there's so much knowledge, so much creativity. What did you learn from him while you were touring with him, especially with the Rolling Stones?
Oh my gosh, well, yeah. Stevie is such a genius until when you're around him, I mean, you'd have to be half dead not to pick up some of the genius, some of the music. And when I was in school, I was very, very shy. I didn't, talk to a lot of people. I was a church girl. And so I would write poetry. So when I got together with Stevie, I then saw that poetry plus music equals song. And I became a songwriter. I started taking those words and I started writing music. And that's where my very first hit came from, the song that I sang, Free. I wrote while I was a background singer with Stevie. But prior to that, I really didn't get the connection the way I got it when I was with him, because music just flowed out of him.
Right.
And it flowed out to each one of us. So I think that's the most important thing that I learned from him. Certainly it was one of the most musical times in my life ever.
Now, speaking of Free, that was a very wonderful song for women. And
Yes.
to be able to be free.
Yes.
And tell us how you felt when you learned how women picked up on that song and how they related to that song. Because I know when I read it, and everybody during that time,
Yes.
because during that time it was totally different nowadays.
Yes.
Tell us how you felt when women were like, "Oh my God, I love this song, I can be free." It was like a voice that they thought they didn't have.
It's very interesting as a songwriter, and as someone that writes poems. A lot of times, what I like about being a songwriter is because you get to express the feelings that you have. It's like therapy to me. I get to express those things that are on my mind, on my heart, things that are happening to me, things that are happening to people that I love, people that I'm around. I get to write those experiences. And so as a songwriter, though, and I think just as a regular person, when you're going through something, you think you're the only person.
Right.
And basically, I wrote it thinking that I was the only person that felt like that. And that was it. So I was totally shocked when I found out that there were millions of women that felt like I felt. I was totally floored because I had no idea. I was just sitting there, thinking, this is my story and it's happening to me. And the beauty of it was, the blessing of it was that I did say something that millions of people that thing was in their heart. And it was almost like I became a voice for those women and a voice for a couple of other people too. I got a lot of people from prison writing me saying, I want to be free. And I have a lot of my men folks that also said, I want to be free to be myself. I have to be free to be. So it meant a lot of things to a lot of people, and it meant different things to a lot of people.
Yes, I love that song. One of my favorite songs is your other hit that you have, Too Much, Too Little, Too Late, with Johnny Mathis.
Yes.
How did that come about, especially being that was his first hit for him? How did that work out?
I was on the road touring with Earth, Wind and Fire, and I got a call from my manager saying Johnny Mathis wanted to do a duet and would I be interested? And I thought, are you crazy? I mean, as a little girl, I would watch him on Mike Douglas and all the television shows. And it was kind of like I was in dress rehearsal because I would be singing along with him and harmonizing along with him. So I mean, the thought was, oh, I hope I can do this. And then I told my mother, who just about fainted. My mom just about fell out. And, oh, can I go to the studio? I said, not if you're going to act like this. You can't go. You cannot go to the studio with me. And it just turned out I went to the studio and I was so nervous because here I am, a brand new artist. Here is a legend. Legend with a string of hits, a string of fans, and I'm the novice, I'm the new kid on the block. And I was so nervous when I went in the studio. And when I got there, he had already opened up a bottle of wine. Oh, wow. And so we sat in the studio for about an hour and we just drank and we hung out and we talked and he made me feel so comfortable. He's probably one of the most humble men I've ever met to this day. And we sat there and we drank and he knew all of my songs on the first project he was singing. That's what Friends Are For, and singing my music. And so he made me feel so comfortable and he made me feel like we were equal.
Right.
And so after about an hour of, hanging out, we went in the studio and we sang the song. And I went back on the road with Earth, Wind and Fire. And it's funny. I went back on the road. And so I would go into this hotel room and turn on the radio to see what they were saying about the show, listen to radio. And little by little on that tour, I kept hearing our songs. So I called John up. I said, John, we're going to be number one, honey. He says, I've never been number one. I said, we are going to be number one. I said, I feel it. I see it. I'm out here listening to radio. And we were number one. So we both had our first number one hit pop song together.
Yay. I love, it's funny. I'm saying yay because last night I went online and actually watched a video.
Yeah.
And you're like, and I was like, I'm sitting there like, I remember those phones. I remember you laying on the bed and you're just talking in the phone because that was the way the video was,
Yes.
where you guys were on the phone saying it's too late.
Yes.
Is that, who came up with the idea for the music video? I love the video.
I think that was Columbia. I
Okay.
can't remember who actually laid it out, but we were both on Columbia Records, and so they came up with this video. We did it. We recorded it in Spanish because it, of course, went to various companies, and it was just an incredible time. But I think the most special part of it was how special he made me feel,
Yeah.
how important he made me feel, and not taking, I've been a legend, I've been around a long time, and this little girl, that's what his managers are saying,
Right.
that little girl. And he was lovely and has been ever since. I still love him. We still are in touch with each other.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of legends, I want to go into you working with David Foster. Mm-hmm. Who is now on, just in case the audience doesn't know, he's on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, married to Yolanda, and he just legend after legend after legend who he's worked with. But with David, that was the person you worked with when you started doing disco. And how did you, because I was doing a little bit of research, and you wasn't really a fan of disco, but you went ahead and did a song. Take us through that time in the disco era, because I'm a fan of disco.
As an artist, I take my music very seriously, but it's also a business. So the record company came and said, here's Donna Summers, and she's all on the charts, selling millions of records, and Gloria Gaynor, and we need a disco song. And I sat there and said, what? A disco song from me? Oh, God. So it just so happened at that time, a lot of people were sending a lot of music to me. So this song came to me, a little demo, I Got the Next Dance. I thought, I'll play it for them. This is out of all the songs I've heard, this one maybe it fits me. And so I played it for the record label. And they said, "Oh yeah, we love it." And I thought, "Oh yeah, you would love it," and so at the time, David Foster was working with Bill Champion, and I got a chance to do with Greg Matheson, got to do this song, and that's was my first meeting with David. And then we went into another studio to work on a project, and it kind of got bumped, and I was bummed because he then went to work on the movie with Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner, The Bodyguard. So our project kind of got pushed behind. But David is an incredible songwriter. I've written songs with him, wrote a song with him and Carol Bear Sagers, which is a huge songwriter. And he's phenomenal. I went in and I did a session with him, which is probably one of the most incredible music sessions I ever did, because it was me singing live with 30 strings with David on piano. And people don't do that anymore.
No.
But the people I grew up with, that I admired, Ella Fitzgerald, Lena Horne, Nancy Wilson, those kind of artists would go in, and the recording, the vocals would be live. And so I said, "I want to do a live." He said, "Are you sure?" I said, "I have that much confidence in the gift God gave me. Let's go for it." And we did it, and it's phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Wow. I'm just in awe of just the story. Now, speaking of the gift, you're a 4-octave range.
Yes.
Is that something that you're born with and you have to train to get that, or do you already know that you have that gift already when you reach that level in your singing?
I didn't know that I had the 4-octave range. All I knew is that, in church and choir, my cousin, who was a musical director, would say, "Deniece, you sing top." So, and then he would say, "If there's any notes, if the middle is weak, sing middle. If the alto is weak," which they never were because the altos are usually the loudest, "sing alto," But I was always first soprano. And so I kind of developed that, the first and second and the tenor. I would just kind of fill in the gaps, but it was mostly first soprano. I didn't really know how high I could sing until this friend of mine brought over an LP, and it was from a group called Rotary Connection. She said, "You should listen to this. You sound just like this girl, Minnie Riperton. Listen to this." And I put on the record, and it was like, "Oh, I can sing like that." So I started listening to her. I started listening to Patti LaBelle that did a song called "Down the Aisle," and she was all up in the stratosphere. So I'm mimicking Patti. And then my music teacher turned me on to a woman named Ema Sumac, who had 5 octaves. So basically, between the 3 of them, I was finding my way, and that's when I discovered that I had, and my choir director, that I had the 4 octaves. Other than, I didn't really know what I had. I was just doing what was natural.
Wow. I wish I had that gift. I wish I could sing.
Well, everybody God gives everybody something.
That is true. That is true. But just, hearing your voice, you're like, wow, it's just beautiful.
Thank you.
It's so beautiful. And then also you worked with Tom Bell, and you worked on a couple of more albums as well, and you had some amazing hits.
Yes.
You with Silly and on Deniece, you just created a ton of hits throughout your career. And then also you went into a little bit of gospel. You transitioned. How did that happen? Was that something that you felt in your spirit? Was it something that you just woke up and say, "Oh, it's time for me to go gospel"? What was going on?
Well, I had gospel song on my secular records. On the very first one that Free came off of, there was a song called "Somebody's Watching You." And then on the second project, Songbird, "God is Truly Amazing," was on that project. And that's a song that's still on the radio every Sunday,
Right.
"God is Truly Amazing." And then my very first Grammy came from a gospel song on my secular project called "They Say So." I had been doing gospel music all along. Now, it was getting me in trouble with Columbia Records. They were not happy about my doing gospel music.
Right.
It was a company, most of the presidents and everyone were Jewish, and they were saying, we didn't put all this money into making you a star so we could hear this Jesus stuff.
Right.
But I told Walter Yetnikoff at the time, I said, "Listen, I really am trying to give people a total overview of who I am as an artist,
Right.
and who I am through my music. And I said, so that's the reason why I include the gospel music, because I'm a Christian and that's a big part of me. And I want people to know the sum total of me. Nothing that you know about me is fake. When you meet me, when you hear me, you get me. This is
Right.
it. And so they kind of went along with that. You know, after we sat down, I said, is it hurting our record sales? Is it hurting, you know, people not showing up for the shows? It's not hurting anything. So there's nothing to be alarmed about. So after many years of just doing one gospel or one Christian song, I decided, why not a whole entire project to do this? And no, they weren't happy that I wanted to do that. And no, they couldn't do anything about it, because right at that time, negotiations for my new contract came up. And I just had a #1 pop hit with Let's Hear It for the Boy. So there was little that they could say.
Right. And that was my next question, because I was just going in order little by little. But yes, I do remember that. Let's Hear It for the Boys.
And so my negotiations came up. So they said, well, you can do the gospel Christian music, but you know, we don't do that here. And so they allowed me to go to Sparrow Records at the time, and that's how that whole thing came about. But it was a process that had been going on for years. It wasn't like I had, you know, was doing the secular and doing some raunchy music or stuff that I would be ashamed of, because my grandmother was still alive at that time. I had to, you know, hold my peace. So, and even now, you know, I hold my peace because I want to hold my peace on some things. But, you know, that's how that happened. It was a transition that I got a chance to do that.
Now, I also want to talk about something that you did at the gospel show in 1980. And you made a statement saying God did something miraculous that day. Do you remember?
You know what? I don't, because God does something miraculous
But
for
it was-
me every day.
Yes, but you really spoke, when I was doing research on you, you really spoke about how you said we saved 300 lives today.
Oh,
yes.
I know what
yes.
that is. Well, what happened is, when I was on the road with Earth, Wind, and Fire, Philip Bailey and I and Larry Dunn, a couple of us, started having a Bible study. And so we decided that we wanted to make a public announcement about the goodness of God and the things that he'd done in our life. So we went to the owners of the Roxy, which was a top club at that time, still is, but very huge at that time. And we said, we want a weekend of gospel music. We don't want any alcohol, and we don't want any drugs up in here. And the guy looked at us, and I said, seriously, you will still get the business, but we want to do this in these other terms. And he said yes. And so we went into the Roxy, and we did Jesus at the Roxy. And I will never forget that day, because when we, you know, it rained. It, you know, what's the guy? It never rains in Southern California. It rained that day. Okay. It poured down rain that day. And so I was thinking, oh God, nobody's going to come. It's going to be Philip and his family, me and my family, Jerry Peters, you know, this is going to be the artists, you know. And when I turned around Sunset, when Sunset curves and then you turn around, there was a line going down the street of umbrellas, of people standing to get into Jesus at the Roxy. And I'm telling you, it was that night we had a pastor there, and he did an invitation, and 300 people decided they wanted to give their life to the Lord. That was the miracle. Because we didn't know what was going to happen. We just said, we'll take over the club, we'll pay, we'll do whatever. And we just wanted to say, God, thank you. Jesus, thank you. And it turned out to be a huge blessing. Donna Summers was there. She decided to become a Christian. She bought a building in Hollywood and was doing Bible studies. Smokey Robinson. So many people turned out, and so many lives were changed that night. And that's what I was speaking about. It was just an incredible miracle that God did.
So Donna decided to become a Christian that day.
When they did the altar call, she came up, and that was a deciding night for her.
That's amazing. I'm glad I found that little bit of research right there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now I want to go back to your hit, Let's Hear It for the Boys. How did on the soundtrack of Footloose?
Yes.
Which I still watch to this day, actually.
We just did 30 years, I think it
Yes.
is. Kevin Bacon was just on television. Yeah, it's been 30 years. Isn't that something? Time goes by quick.
It does. It does.
When you're having fun.
When you're having fun.
Yeah.
Footloose, fancy free.
Yeah, Footloose. Yeah, there you go.
Right. So how did you come across this particular song? Take us through, for the audience,
Yes.
people watching, how this mega hit happened for you.
Well, that was another miracle. That was another fun event. I was in the studio with George Duke, who I just loved. That was my big teddy bear friend. And we had just finished recording Black Butterfly. And so I got a call from Columbia from my manager, says they're doing a movie called Footloose, and we want to know if you want to be a part of it. But the only problem is there's only one song left. And I said, well, I want to be in the film. I said, so, I want to hear the songs. They said, well, can you go over to the writer's house, Dean Pitchford and Tom Snow? Can you go over and they're going to play the song for you? And I said, okay. So I said, George, let's go over to Tom Snow's house and listen to this song for this film. So we get there, and we got these two guys on piano singing Let's Hear It for the Boy. And so afterwards, I said, oh, great. I said, give me the tape of the song. So we go outside, and George says, we're not doing that song. I said, oh, but we are. He said, we're not doing that song. I don't like that song. I said, I don't care. We doing this song. I said, number one, it's in a film. Number two, I just read an article that says that I am one of the best balladeers of our time. I can do an up-tempo song. I said, so we're doing that song. In the discussion. He's grumbling all the way. So we go in. He records it. He does this phenomenal arrangement. He works me half to get this vocal
Right.
done. And we don't hear anything else. Then we're invited finally to the premiere. And that's when I found out where my song was, when Chris Penn, I think, learns how to dance. And I am sitting in there crying because I got the payoff song.
Right.
My song is his payoff. He learns how to dance by Let's Hear It for the Boy. And then I had said, okay, I want, 5 million sales. And Dean Pitcher said, oh, the 5 million sales are for you. So we get this, and everybody else's single is coming off this project, and they keep telling me, you next, you're next. So first one come out, Kenny Loggins, you're next. Kenny Loggins, you're next. Shalimar, Dancing This Year, you're next. I said, wait, I'm gonna take it to Jesus. I said, Lord, my song is just as good. So then they started getting calls because people started just playing Let's Hear It for the Boy.
Mm-hmm.
The disc jockeys did it. It just jumped off the record, and the next thing I know, I'm the big hit, and it's like, don't fool with Jesus, don't fool with his girl, and it was just phenomenal to see that song. Now this was the scary part about Let's Hear It for the Boy. So my mom and I, we're driving. I don't remember where we were going, but we stopped in front of a school, and a high school, and the school had just let out. Those kids saw me and they rushed my car. That had never happened before. And my mom said, well, I guess you have arrived, because they surrounded our car and they were talking to me. And, so I got to roll down the window and I'm talking, oh, yeah, you can do it, doing the encouragement thing. But it was very different because before then I had a lot of fans, but I didn't have the kids.
Right.
And that came out, and it was like, okay, God shifted me again. Again, I was shifted. So it's like, okay, that's wonderful. I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I'll buy that new house.
Right. Right. And now up to this moment, you're still touring. Mm-hmm. You're still singing. You're still blessing us with your voice.
Yes.
And now you're collaborating with your children on their projects.
I am. Yeah, I've got 4 sons. My older 2 are writers. They write for television and film. The younger 2 are singers, songwriters, producers. So we're all working together. And the exciting thing that's about to happen is we now have a a reality television show called Deniece Williams, the Second Act, and it's about me and my 4 sons. It's scary, but it's amazing. They got on there yesterday, and I saw the sizzle reel. They call me a control freak. They say I don't let them do nothing. But
is that true?
I think that I've been a single parent twice. And, you take on dual roles. You have to be father and mother, unfortunately. I don't like playing daddy, but somebody had to do it. And since they didn't do it, I did it.
Right.
And so I'm very involved in them, but they are adults, and I'm finding a way. A lot of prayer, but I am finding a way, and I'm really happy to report, to back up and let them be grown folks and let them be the men that God has created them to be. They are phenomenal. I love my boys. I have 5 grandchildren. And it's funny, when I first started having grandchildren, I went to my mom and I was crying like, Mom, do I have to give up my short dresses and my boots and my hats? She said, you don't have to give up nothing. I said, okay, I want grandmamas to have a new look.
Right.
It's like, our grandparent mom, they had,
Right.
And
Back
the roll-up stockings.
Right.
I said,
Roll-up stockings.
With the little knot on
You
there.
went way back on that one.
Was my grandmother, you sitting on her, it's like, I can't do that. So,
Right.
First grandchild I had, and so I told my daughter-in-law, I said, listen, and I told my grandma, you call me Nana. You call me Nana, because if you call me Grandma, I'm going to leave you in the store. You call me You call me Nana. They call me Nana. And it's a lovely thing to see your family grow, to see your kids grow. I've still got one at home, so I'm looking forward to empty nesting. And I hope that God will help me through that, because I've been so involved with my children, until I'm sure that that's going to be a little bit of a tough disconnect for me. But I'm ready. I'm ready. It's time for a boyfriend. And I haven't had many boyfriends because I didn't want no men around the boys.
Right.
But anyway.
You ready now?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You
now.
ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
You hear that, everybody? She's
I'm
ready. I
I'm
heard
ready.
that.
I'm going for it. Are they going for it? One of the two.
Right.
Come on. Okay.
Now, if you are a fan of Deniece Williams, people can come see you on Mother's Day.
They can.
Yes, you
they
have
can.
an event on Mother's Day.
I have a gig on Mother's Day. I'm in Miami, Florida. And it's going to be wonderful because I get to, Monica's going to be on the show, which is, I love her. She's my baby girl. She did You're Everything to Me, which was a spinoff of my song, Silly. So I don't know if we're going to perform it together. We did it for the BET a couple of years ago, but I get to see Monica. Another singer that's going to be on there, which I really love her. I think she's an incredible singer, Keisha Cole.
Yes.
I love Keisha Cole. The girl can sing.
Yes, she can.
And so I'm going to be on the show with her and Jagged Edge, and I think a couple of other people. So that's exciting. And, it makes me feel good because I am, the vintage of the show. But here I am with all these young people. And that's
that
really
says a
special.
lot. That says a lot.
That's special.
Yes, you are phenomenal. Your voice carries over many generations.
Yeah.
And we still get radio. We still hear your radio play of your songs. We're still dancing. Footloose is still relevant. They remade it, So,
and I was in the remake.
And you was in the remake. Yes. So, I mean, what can you say? You're phenomenal.
It's been a phenomenal career. I've sang for the Pope twice. Never in my wildest dream did I ever think I'd be singing for the Pope. I did 2 papal welcomes. I sang for Billy Graham. I never thought I'd sing for Billy Graham. I've met princes and kings and queens of countries, and I never thought I'd leave Gary, Indiana, and go into the hospital system because I wanted, I like being around and cheering people up, but I did that through the music. There's been healing through the music. There's been just meeting people I never ever thought that I would meet, and I never ever thought that they'd be excited to meet me. That's been the thing. It's like, oh, okay, they're excited to meet me too. It's been an incredible life, and the other thing that I'm excited about is it's not over.
It's not over.
It's not over. Television, here I come.
I heard that. And speaking of Gary, Indiana, in 2007, it was declared Deniece Williams Day.
Yeah.
On October 13th.
Yes, I got the key to the city.
You got the key to the city. So you're just creating stuff happening for you. I mean, it's nonstop.
It's nonstop.
It's nonstop. And you are so loved. And more important, you're just appreciated.
Yes. Yes, and that is a great feeling and something that I will never forget or never take for granted. You know, I don't take anything that's happened in my life for granted, because I know that there are a lot of people that wish they had even 10% of the experiences that I've had. So I thank God every day to not take it for granted. And I live with great expectation of what's to come.
I love it. Thank you so much for being with us today. For more information on your event on Mother's Day, they can go to your website.
They can go to my website, DenieceWilliams.com,
and
look
you can
a sister up.
Look a sister up. You can follow her on Twitter at NieceDW.
Yes, yeah.
To get information there as well. And you can find her also on Facebook.
Yes.
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 Deniece
I'm
Williams.
all over the place.
Thank you so much for being on Phenomenal Women. You are an example of a phenomenal woman, and I just really appreciate you being on the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm your host, Ashida Onrae, and I'll see you next week.
From producers Maria Menounos, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in. The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.
Thanks for watching Black Hollywood Live on YouTube. For more in-depth interviews and news, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion in the comment section below here. See you soon, everyone. Bye.